Hello, welcome to the space. We're going to give everyone some time to get in. We're not going to immediately let people on stage because we want to give Vicky a chance to just talk to us about what she wants to talk about, and then we'll start letting people up. So just give us a few minutes. Thank you so much. Hello, Vicky. How are you? You know how to unmute yourself on here?
Yes,
My
ma'am.
name is my name is Nikki the God. This is Michael from New Black Media Archive and Sincere Love the God and the fantastic, amazing Vicky Dillard. Thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor that you would allow us to interview you. Thank you so much. Um, this is just going to be a comfortable conversation. We're going to just let you kind of lead and talk about what you want to talk about and tell us about what you're doing and anything that's happening important in your life right now. Also, I wanted to send my condolences because I know that a family member of yours died recently. So I wanted to send my condolences. I know that you were dealing with that over the weekend.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, greetings to you and you said Michael and Sincere, the God. I thank you all so much for the invitation. Media is so important in what we're doing right now. And so, we bow to you and your work that you do. And so, thank you so much for extending the invitation and welcome to the family and those that are tuning in now. As well as thank you also for your condolences. Yes, it was actually my grandmother in Mississippi that passed, but she lived a ripe old age. So now my spiritual cord has been upgraded. So I've only been home actually for a few hours, but I wanted to make sure that I tap in with the family today.
We appreciate that. We really appreciate you take giving us your time and letting us interview you. So I appreciate that. Is Mississippi was is that where you were born and raised? Is that where you're from?
Yes, born and raised in Mississippi. I've been here in the Wild Wild West for many years now, but yes, I'm a Southern girl.
Really? Where have you always been into media?
It's a very interesting story. When I was a young girl in elementary school, we got awards not only for academics, but for social behavior and other such things. And one of the awards I got when I was, I think, second or third grade was the quietest student. I was always really a recluse, always to myself. So I got the quietest student when I was in school, but even with that um, personality that I had at the time, I did know that I was going to be destined really to do something as it relates to broadcasting. When I was 11 years old, I interviewed my grandfather. We didn't have um, a video camera at the time. And so my mother asked the pastor of the church, Reverend Eddie B. Cry of New Prospect Missionary Baptist Church, would he record her baby because I was entering a school contest. And the contest I entered, my entry was the Vicky Show. I was 11 years old. We still have the VHS tape. And someone that saw it said, Vicky, absolutely nothing has changed. And so my grandfather, who was a hero to me, he was the one that I interviewed, and I ended up getting honorable mention in that entry, and then I won a trip to Subway in the museum. But I say that because even as a child, those things were seeded, and I knew that I would have something to do with media, even though my personality, I was quiet, but I had a particular assignment. I won't go too deep, but if you don't like spirituality, I'm not your girl. If you don't, if the supernatural is not something you can stomach, the mere mortals can tap out. But I'm more than what meets the eye, and that's been my life. So as a child, young girl, I would say I had supernatural encounters where not only dreams, but a messenger sent a prophetic woman to me that gave me a word about something that I would do to the in the nation. So yes, I knew that I was predestined to do such things because of supernatural assignment that I received.
Okay. All right. Well, going into that, with respect to you being a spiritual mastermind, what are your thoughts on how we can use spirituality to empower ourselves and be able to resist white supremacy?
There is absolutely no other way. It is absolutely a fallacy, a complete impossibility to do so.
Is there
And
something covering your microphone? Um,
no, can you
okay.
hear me?
Yeah, it just sounded like something was covering it. My bad. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can you hear me clear now?
Yeah, it's a little bit covered, but just do your best. We'll work around it.
Okay. Before I talk though, I want to make sure y'all can hear me well. Let me adjust real close. Is this better?
Yeah, is it better? Can you hear her, Sincere?
Yeah, yeah, it sounds better.
Okay. Go
Okay.
ahead, Miss Vicky.
Yes, it's an impossibility um, to take our rightful place in the world without incorporating spirituality. One of the things that I teach, because people like to rely on what they call facts and science. And every day we're seeing some so called leading scientific expert that comes out with some amendment or something that they've augmented or something new that they've learned. So those that, claim that they're relying on facts and these sorts of things, those things are malleable and they're subject certainly to change. When we look at our history, our lineage, what we're made up of, there's a terrestrial, earthly aspect to us, and there's a multidimensional and unseen aspect of us. And when I say that, and I use the word magic in my spiritual teachings, I use the word magic interchangeably with the word spirit and energy. If you look at the word and just, let's just say a scientific word, right, about an electromagnetic field, yes? When you
Mm.
look at the word electromagnetic, and let's even break that down and just look at the word magnetic, right? Somebody tell me, when you remove the word net out of magnetic, what do you have?
Magic.
You have the word magic.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. So I was also going to ask you a question. Was there ever a point in your life where you feel you became conscious, or was this something that you felt the whole time?
That was my fault.
I was wondering if there was ever a point in your life where you felt like you became conscious, where you just knew it, where you became conscious to white supremacy and the things that are going on around us.
Yes. I can't think of a time where I wasn't. Just because even when I was in school, one of my siblings tells me often, she said, "Girl, you were an activist before you knew what an activist was." I mean, when I was, even in school, that was what I did. I was known for speaking up for things that were unjust. If the drink machines went up, I was working at Taco Bell. I was working ever since I could. So I was a taxpayer at the time by going to school. So in a public school, I knew I had the right to know why they increased the money for the drink machines and what they were doing with those additional monies. I challenged my school with that. When I was in a high school, I was a part of mock trial and some other things. For those that don't know what mock trial is, it's when we competed and played out legal proceedings where we acted as attorneys and witnesses and so forth. And so that energy was always a part of who I was and am. And when I was in spiritual spaces, I would have, I was inspired to do certain things, and the doors opened up for me to speak forth things. And even then, it was always about setting things in order. I can remember before graduating, they were having a whole bunch of what they, valedictorians, up to 9 and 10 of them, because so many students had made straight A's and they were in different subjects. And one of the things I was protesting was the fact that they didn't have a student that really represented the average student body. So I did a petition, had hundreds and hundreds of signatures, and the school was so intimidated about what I was doing. I was missing lunch and everything for days at a time to get people to sign my petition that I had my mother type up for me. And I had hundreds of signatures and presented it to the school. And they got so concerned that they called my mother, they took her to lunch to dissuade her daughter from disrupting the graduation ceremony. And my mother ate the lunch and she enjoyed her lunch. And when she left, she told him she couldn't guarantee nothing, pretty much. You know, she wasn't gonna really get involved in that. So they were quite fearful of that. So I can't really. I don't know a specific time where I really wasn't. It just evolved, matured, and it grew. I'll say one more thing quickly. Um, Even for parents that are out there, my mother, she's not somebody that would maybe consider herself to be this, that, or the third, unfortunately, but she's way, way more than what she realized in how she nurtured and mothered us. And when I was writing a play as a girl called Off Drugs, that was a conscious movie. It was called Off Drugs, and it was about our community and the plague of drug addiction. When I was writing the play, my mother would bring home the old school green and white computer paper. I don't know if some of you all remember that. I'm in my 40s, but back in the day, the computer paper used to be the green and white lines with
Yeah.
the perforated holes on the side. So
Yeah.
my mom would bring home the leftover computer paper for me to write my movie. And so she encouraged that. And then she took it further and says, well, I think you should write the mayor and tell the mayor about, your movie you're writing. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to write the mayor. Wrote the mayor, and the mayor at the time was Jimmy Kemp, and he wrote me back congratulating my movie. I say that because that seed of normalizing, you understand, what I was doing and making it important to the point to where a city government leader, you know what I mean, needed to be in on what I was doing. And me, that seed of knowing that, that was normalized for me, these interactions with the powers, even if it was our local mayor. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. All right. Well, Sincere, you could go ahead and ask questions if you have any questions.
Dope, dope, dope. All right. How you doing, Vicky?
I'm doing well, brother. So good to hear your voice.
Right, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to get to speak to you here. You know what I'm saying? I've been looking forward to this all week long.
Beautiful.
So yeah, definitely grateful for the opportunity to chop it up with you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
And quickly, I just got to give Nikki, I got to give you your props. You know what I'm saying? Our sister was a little nervous leading up to this, but you set this thing off just right, man. You even covered, some of the stuff that I wanted to cover with our sister. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to, let you know you got this. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to worry about nothing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I was
Excellent.
very nervous. I was very nervous, and it's just because I admire you so much, Vicky. So yeah.
Thank you
So
so
Right.
much.
hopefully you'll let me have a round two with interviewing you
Oh,
after this.
it'll be a privilege. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I always like to remind people. When you're nervous, that means that you care about the job that you're going to do. You want to make sure that you do a good job and that you come across thoroughly. So, nothing wrong with being a little nervous.
Shane, family. So yes.
And so, Vicky, you started off. You touched on it a little bit. I want you to get into the importance of media. The way we deal with media, the way our enemy deals with media, and just how important um it is as a weapon on this battlefield in general. Just build on that topic for me.
Indeed. Um, I always remind people when we use the word broadcasting is an agrarian word, or a word that is associated with the farm, with the land. In broadcasting, we see that meaning the seed. It was used in farming, broadcasting, when you would disseminate the seed on the ground. This is a term that we've adopted in what we call our, mainstream media outlets, right? Broadcasting. When the farmer sowed seed, scattered the seed, he had every intention that there would be a harvest produced. Yes? They
Yeah.
understood there was a reason that they were seeding, you see, what they were doing. They expected something to be produced from that seeding. And so they reinforce that seeding by repeating it. They nurture it, yes. They give it its own type of light, its own type of water in order for a harvest to come forward. And so media has now adopted this broadcasting notion. And of course, if you're dealing with spirituality, don't let this word scare you. When it relates to spell casting, being a spell caster, then you have the word broadcasting. When you're casting something, there's a spiritual element, there's a natural element. But I want folks to see there is an intention behind what we're being told and what we see. And so there's a phrase that was often used called a war of words. They don't use it as much now, but that was known to be used in the media, which lets you know that the true battlefield is first and foremost as it relates to media. Now, media has changed its form. Media, if we're talking about how civilizations thrived, how were things broadcasted? Not only did they send, folks on horses and runners and these sorts of things, decrees from the king and messages from governmental officials and high-level individuals to get the messages out. Broadcasting includes your spiritual places. It includes your pastors, your imams, and other spiritual leaders. Your broadcasting, as I said in one of my tweets not too long ago, if we're talking about maybe the 20th century or so, the salons, the barbershops, places of business, the churches and so forth were always broadcasting centers. Any space where there was an exchange of ideas and thoughts and news, we need to see that as broadcasting. So they changed it to make it more official, you see, more centralized, so that they could be the primary authority. And so back in the day, of course, we know that there were even religious leaders, pastors, that they would sanction those that they felt that they could feel comfortable trusting what it is that they would say to the people so that they would not be encouraged to revolt, and that they had to have a certain mindset on their understanding of the text and the ways of the world. So broadcasting is so important because it's access to the minds. Whoever has access to the minds are the more powerful. Now, we know that for the most part, they've gotten rid of physical chains in public spaces. Of course, we know in prison they are certainly there, but again, physical chains in public spaces. But we're now remote controlled because of what we are told. How is it that as it relates to, we're just going to say that global plague, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? The shots and all that, right? Without us saying it, we don't want to be censored. So as it relates to the global plague, how in a matter of a hot minute did all of America practically and everybody get on code and get scared to death, to where majority of the citizens were cut checks and folks were threatened, their jobs and businesses and income and housing and cars were threatened, all of that in a matter of a minute, because you couldn't go to the gas station without something related to the cocoa. You couldn't go to your job without related something to the cocoa. You couldn't you couldn't get in your car. You couldn't go shopping. Your babies from school couldn't. They intentionally broadcasted simultaneously. They flooded it. It was a salvo. When we use the word salvo, that means there's a multi-pronged approach to military. When we use the water, the land, the sea, yes? So when they unleashed like bam, 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 all in one time in successive order, they were really manifesting and executing their agenda in a way that was so widespread. They broadcasted this thing every which way you went. So I want us to expand this notion of what broadcasting, your school teachers, those that are teaching you now. So I'm making sure that we bring this up because I need everybody that's listening to understand that there's a way that even if you are not broadcasting as we are necessarily, it may not, what I'm doing may not be your assignment, you understand? But you still can seed with your babies, with your children, you know what I'm saying, on your job, in your place of worship, if your unique assignment is not necessarily to the masses. So media, the means of broadcasting, let me say this quickly, spiritually, all societies had access to an oracle, a spiritual practitioner, a seer, a prophet, a prophetess. Many of the prophetesses that were ignored, but I won't go there historically right now. It doesn't matter whatever spiritual system you espouse, they would always get the mind of the divine, let's call it. The military leaders, government leaders, those who had access to the masses, they were always wanting guidance and insight. And it's written as a spiritual principle that the divine doesn't do anything in the earth unless he used the mouth of a prophet. In other words, broadcasting. You see? If we believe what even scientists are able to prove now, that when they get down to the elemental material of creation in the universe, they say it sounds like a sound. And God said, and God is said, and the divine said, and the creator said, let there be, let there be. There is an undeniable and inextricable connection to the word and creation and controlling the masses. And here's another word, programming, you see. And that's what they call many of our shows that we tune into. Yes, programs, because they are programming. So here you have, whether you call it the new black media, some of you all that are part of the new black media, black grassroots, those of us, let's just say, that are using independent alternative means. You know, when folks trip and say, well, why does, you know, I'm getting into it with who's now the, I say this often because I want folks to see the power of this. Who's now the press secretary, Kareem Jean-Pierre, the LGBTQ Haitian spokeswoman for the Biden administration. When we look at folks from CNN, folks from MSNBC that was so hot about a show I did, a broadcast I did, they called, found me, and after they blocked me, and they found my number and called. I got DMs from folks from CNN. And then you think about these athletes and these other celebrities. Who cares? Why are they so bothered by Vicki Dillard, who's using a laptop and a cell phone to get her message out? They understand the power in seed form. They understand how dangerous it is in seed form. Not only the words that we use, not only the talking points that we use, but the energy that's laced with the words that we're using. That is what's dangerous. That's what upsets the powers that shouldn't be. And this was my journey before I came to these spaces. I was talking black and I was doing this. Vicki didn't have interfacing with the FBI and the US government, local authorities and others because I'm nobody, baby. It's an energy, it's a power. It was a part of the assignment, as I said before, that was prophesied over my life as a child, that's undoing certain things. And Spirit uses the tool of our words to do warfare. And we use these things as launches. I won't go there. I love words. But if you do an etymological, research on even the word missionary, you know how missionaries are sent out into places in order to proselytize their religion, right? Spread their religion. We call them missionaries, and they sent out. That word missionary, do you know it's in the family of the word missile? Missionary is in the family of the word missile. You're launching something when you're introducing ideas. And when we sit there and we're on code with the narratives that are the most important, and we keep reinforcing them, it gains momentum. And then it begins to set a chain of events in motion that's dang near unstoppable. So we're the counter voice, and we're the counterculture to the powers that shouldn't be, which means whoever controls the mind do what? They control the people, and ultimately the action and the behavior of a society. So media is extraordinarily important in both the seen and unseen realms. And it's the reason why we deal with some of the resistance that we deal with now.
Man, heavy. I wish I had a bomb sound to drop. You gave that little anecdote about the etymology of the word mission. You know what I mean?
I accidentally pressed a sound button. I was trying to press a different button. I'm horrible at this, but I pressed the wrong button. I'm sorry.
I love it.
Yeah, that's okay. And so, yeah, man. Just staying on the topic of media, I'm glad you brought up, the importance of what it is that we do. You know what I'm saying? No matter how large or small our platforms may be, because sometimes it could be a little demoralizing when you look at the power of our open enemy. We're dealing with these multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, and it seems as though they're able to make the society bend to their will, like you explained. When the pandemic came along, just it was like instantaneous that everybody, it seems like everybody just, got on the same page with whatever narrative was being pushed at us.
Mhm.
Many of us in these spaces, we are what I would call, bad soil. The programming usually doesn't take with people like us. And so, what are some of the ways, we could utilize not just the broadcasting aspect of media, but, media, it comes in the form, like you said, the education, the music, print form, all of these different forms of media that we could use to kind of poison the soil for the masses of Black people so that people are not so susceptible to the programming.
Beautiful. First of all, it cannot happen if we have not first done an assessment on what weapons we do have. You cannot employ if you don't recognize that you have power. See, you have weapons and you know who you are. This is important. And let me say this. This is another reason why I, like our ancient ancestors, the very Black blood, celestial and terrestrial lineage that we are connected to, we understand, and which is why I talked about the fact that it doesn't matter whatever spiritual system you espouse or believe in, if we're looking at the history of the societies that were thriving in every area practically, they were tapped in spiritually. You never, ever, 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 ever take the mindset of the enemy that their forms of power, their nuclear weapons, the way they do stuff is the only way. See, this is what obsessed them about us telling folks that we're not just going to rely on voting. See, they told us that voting is our only power. They're telling us
Mm-hmm.
that voting is the ultimate, yes?
Mm-hmm.
It's offensive to them when we don't agree with that. We're saying, no, baby, we're seeing how there's a Chinatown in every major city, and they're operating as a nation within a nation, and they don't have the pressure on them, and they don't have the voting percentages amongst their demographic that we do. But we see that they have banks and credit unions and businesses, and they're doing international business with their people. And if you're going to keep it real, some of they folks are sitting over here from their nations. And if you want to keep it real, for real, for real, I prophetically downloaded this some years ago in a conversation I had. If you ask me, I believe that they had agreement with some of their nations before they got here, and the nations helped to back them up that they were really dealing with oppression. But in fact, they were sent here like a missile from their particular nation. And some of these folks that are coming here are actually coming here as spies, but I digress. I'm
Mm.
saying they have the backing of some of their nations when they come to the United States and they thrive in our midst. Let me say this. When you look at, what is it? When you look at, why am I drawing a blank? What are the places in the United States when we have a base in other countries? What is it? Um, um,
Um, some of the satellites, I mean,
no, not a satellite. When you can go to a particular place, oh gosh, when
the
you get to
embassies.
embassies, yes. Do you know that even though the headquarters there, that building is in a whole other country, that's when you step on that building and that land, that you're literally in the United States.
Jurisdiction, yes.
You understand? We have these dispersed. Somebody put the word in the chat for me. You have these dispersed all over the world. But when you research it, you find that literally you're in the United States of America on that particular land. That's the kind of mindset that we need to have when we show up anywhere about the Black nation and
Preach.
what we're representing. It doesn't matter if you work in the medical industry. It doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom. It doesn't matter, if you're an engineer. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor. You need to understand that you're bringing the whole of who you are in those particular spaces, and what you do matters in those spaces. Now, let me say this. When I'm talking about spiritual stuff, shout out to Brother Tariq that's got our American Maroons coming out.
Yes.
We know about some of our Haitian family because that was what we were more or less taught about when they were able to overthrow European forces. How first? Weren't they outnumbered, family? Weren't the weapons of a European considered in some degree to be maybe more superior in some ways? They were not outnumbered, but they had more weapons, yes?
Yes, indeed.
But what did they do? We're going to throw away all religion because the white man corrupted everything. We don't throw out every good thing that's good for us. No, you do what you need to do with what's left of the remnant. They tapped in spiritually. Shout out to even Queen Nanny. We don't often talk about her, but she was a Black military leader in the Haitian Revolution. She was able to tap in spiritually on some stuff when she was giving out orders, as well as some of our brothers. You don't do that without doing some supernatural work first. When you do that, why am I saying that? That is a weapon. Do you know, as one of our brothers, one of the peels, Red Peel, Blue Peel, and during one of the trailer of the American Maroons he put out, one of the things that he said, because in some of our Black Maroons, which is our brothers and sisters that are revolutionaries here in the United States, which they didn't teach us about resistance, the environments we were in. He says, when you're tapped into the ecosystem, do you know that your environment becomes a weapon too?
Right.
The environment begins to work even against the enemy when you are aligned. So the first order of business is not to say what we can't do. The first order of business isn't to say, well, they got superior weapons. They have more senators. They have more congresspersons. They have more mayors. They've got more power. They have more money. No. Some wars were won. Some battles were won because the hailstorms took out soldiers on the other side. Earthquakes and tsunamis, you understand? Animals, the ground itself begin to be affected. But see, when we're not tapped in, we just call this weird and strange stuff because you don't know how to work these other powers. You dismiss or you mock them. I'm just trying to get us to understand that there are more weapons. There are more things that we can do that will have an effect on our natural reality. And that is being able to tap into our supernatural powers, that I call them supernatural powers, so that we can have the advantage naturally. And whether it's ancestrally for you, whether it's tap into your, whatever you want to say, Christian roots or Hebrew Israelite roots, whether you want to use the offshoot of that, Judaism, whether you want to use Islam, Buddhism, or others, or a root worker, or any other spiritual system, I'm saying that there are other things that we can do. And once we're in divine alignment, even the very environment, even the very climate, things will begin to happen in such a way that we'll gain momentum, you understand, and we'll be able to overcome some things. I'm going to say this and I'll stop. I'm just throwing out examples of stuff because I want us to see a little bit what I mean. We've been tripping now because it seems like on a regular now we're hearing audio that's being released, right? Of police officers that thought they weren't being recorded. Yes? Mm-hmm. We're seeing them say, oh, this is when they was in the car and they said what we always knew they were saying. We knew that they were bona fide white supremacist gangsters that's teaming throughout the our local police forces and in the military. And we're seeing time after time that unintentional audios and videos are being released that when they thought they turned off the recorder and all this kind of stuff, they were actually being recorded. Family, these are not accidents. This isn't a coincidence. Our ancestors are helping us. They're leaking this stuff. There are things that are beginning to happen. You understand? This whole reparations conversation, there are different factions that have been talking about reparations for many years. And shout out to some of them. These things have been seeded in one way or another. But I believe the momentum of the Black grassroots and the unrelenting media and broadcasting of it is what's helping it to take on new life. You understand? And so this is kind of an important thing. Is I wanted to just throw that out there, that it's we have other forms of power. We have other forms of weapons. And it is about us first understanding who we are, what those other supernatural weapons are, to have an effect on our reality. That's a part of who I am. That's what sets me apart in what I teach, is I lace my commentary with supernatural and natural talking points and realities.
Yes, indeed, and I bear witness. I definitely bear witness to all of that. You touched in there a little bit about codification. You know, talking about how whatever space that we find ourselves in, we need to be moving on, on behalf of the masses of our people and in a Black first mindset. So, in your own words, can you give us the definition of the code? What does it mean to be on code and to stay on code?
That's so important, and I find it not to be, and I'm sure, I feel like I know where we're going with this, as an example of this. In war, let's just talk about Ye. Is that all right?
Let's do it.
As an example. If we're looking at Ye, and of course we're dealing now with our brother Kyrie Irving as the most prominent figures that's, the oppressive class and the predatory class are looking to but break before the world. The average person, when we look at Ye, we would say he ain't on code. He going around wearing White Lives Matter shirts. Who did a broadcast on him? I did. A couple. On mine and African Diaspora News Channel. Brother Phil Scott's channel.
Yeah, I saw that.
He says, okay, what are some other things he's done? Just
the George Floyd comments, the red hat,
Yes, thank you. So the red hat, you said George Floyd, the red hat, yes, MAGA, right? So that's a trigger for us, yes?
Right.
And it's understandable. It's understandable. He ain't for us. He's not really, that ain't, this don't look right. That don't look on code. It's not, you need to. Okay. Well, okay. There's an arch enemy who has been responsible and is actually the architect of anti-Black chattel slavery, Jim Crow, Jane Crow, anti-Black oppression. I said the architects, you see, the one that wrote the blueprint and the ones that disproportionately, economically benefited from anti-Black oppression, yes? And these forces are still at work in the music industry and the entertainment industry. Let me tell you why I believe in dirty soldiers. With the principle of on code, I'm going to use an example to describe on code. I don't want to use words. That don't look on code. In the height of a war, in the height of a battle, we must know when to major on minors and to minor on majors, and when we need to use a particular thing for the greatest advantage of that particular battle. Now, if we got beef, let's just say, for example, with Mexico, right? And let's say we don't like Argentina either. But if we're in the heat of the battle with Mexico, and I may not like Argentina, but if Argentina drops some bombs or something, you feel what I'm saying? Against our enemy, I ain't finna be out there telling Argentina to shut up. You understand? Or to stand down. I'm gonna say, Argentina, do your thing. Argentina, do your thing. Because it's a strategic advantage, you see? For the intense battle I'm right now in. I'm not going to get in the way of Argentina doing this thing against Mexico if I'm in the heat of battle with Mexico, because that's a benefit to me. More than that, again, I deal with natural stuff and supernatural stuff. More than that, more than any of this, is not for me about what his motive is. He's mad at his baby mama, and some of that might be true. Let's act like all of it's true. But I will not let up on this point that it is written that the divine creator will use the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, the base things of the earth. And when you look at the principle, and let's just use the Sunday school interpretation of the story of Joseph. Let's not go esoteric, hidden. Let's not even go deep. The story of Joseph and his other brothers, Joseph's brothers wanted to kill him. Instead, they decided to sell him off for a few pieces of silver. They sold him off in the land of captivity. Even when he was in the land of captivity, he still had favor. While he was there, though, in the land of captivity, he got accused of a crime he didn't commit, sexually assaulting what we call Potiphar's wife. So while he's in the land of captivity, he's incarcerated. He becomes a felon for a crime he didn't commit in the land of captivity. Some years later, rewind, before he's captive, he was known to have a spiritual gift, interpretation of dreams. Then, while he was in prison, he interpreted 2 government leaders' dreams accurately. And the one that lived went back to working for the king, for Pharaoh, I should say. 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream, and none of the government leaders, none of the Howard educated, none of the Harvard educated could give him the interpretation of the dream. But they knew of a felon from a foreign land who had a supernatural gift to interpret the dream. So they cleaned him up, bring him before Pharaoh. He interprets the dream, and then he gives him an economic strategy for his nation and the nations around them. Years later, his brothers and their families were dealing with the famine in their land, so they were forced to come to where Joseph was. And then, of course, if you don't know the story, he later revealed that he was the one that they sold off into captivity, and he was the one that was able to save his lineage from famine because of the betrayal of his brothers. But Spirit used scandalous means to do it. That's where we get the phrase, what the devil meant for evil, God turns for good. His brother's intentions was to kill him. His brother's intentions was driven by jealousy and envy. And Spirit used their diabolical, low vibrational, and toxic agenda and motive to do something extraordinary. Don't miss the play because you're only looking at the natural. When somebody is calling out an arch enemy, I don't even want to hear his name. That's how I feel about it. It doesn't matter the motive. Divine uses scandalous means sometimes to accomplish the extraordinary. And when you are so distracted, when you miss the mark on this little thing over here, you see, they did the same thing with Bill Cosby. They got us so mad at Bill Cosby because he told us to pull up our pants. We were focused on the offense. So when these mostly 60 Beckys, they had 1 or 2 sisters to try to make it look like they were sisters, but mostly 60 Beckys, we turned the other eye, didn't do no research or investigation or scrutinization, and simply said, well, it's so many, some of it got to be true. We did the same thing every time it's a black leader. They take the thing that pisses us off, we focus on that, and we can't see the forest for the trees. We ain't doing that this time. That's a trick. That's a trick. I'm using him as an example to express what I mean about being on code. I'm focused on what matters most. Is we move in the same direction when it matters. That's what the code is. And being able to recognize, you see, how much energy and power. See, we don't realize we're engaged in spiritual warfare. You may say I'm an atheist on this line. But if you spend a whole lot of time putting and generating energy toward one particular person over giving the spotlight, mostly you see, to this arch enemy. See, if you don't know the history of the arch enemy and the people he called out, the same one Minister Farrakhan been calling out for decades, the same one Michael Jackson named, the same one Bill Cosby dealt with. Because if you looked at my recent interviews with his PR person, remember that was one of the ones that was in his house telling him to stop this pro-black, trying to clean up black folks and all that. And Bill Cosby told him, he was at the time Zuckerberg, not Zuckerberg, what's his name? I'm trying to remember the name of the CNN guy.
Oh my goodness.
Homo?
No.
And Andrew something?
No. The one that I'm talking about, Bill Cosby, the one who used to run NBC, and then he later ended up running CNN. He's the one that was in Bill Cosby's house, and when he was telling Bill Cosby to stop all this pro-black stuff, stop telling folks, black folks to pull up their pants and do this, Bill Cosby told him to get his coat. He thought that he was getting ready to go for a walk with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby said some choice words to him, told him to get out of his house. He's nasty. And then that's when the man told him basically there was a mistake in how basically he would destroy him. There was something go down that was going to come down the line. And when he was running CNN, they were the main ones that was trying out all these white women against Bill Cosby. They were the ones that were the drum leaders in that. These are some of the very entities and groups, you understand, that wanted us to focus on the part that we were offended by Dr. Cosby.
Preach.
And he didn't properly get the support. So I'm not going to keep falling for that. You understand? I'm not going to focus on the 2 or 3 offensive things that Ye did when it pales in comparison to them folks he called out. Now, I keep saying this. We can call him a raccoon, but let's call him the raccoon that could. Let's call him the raccoon that would. Why, Vicky? The difference between this raccoon is that this raccoon called out the architects and the ultimate benefactors of anti-black racism and oppression. Those that aren't coons didn't do that. You understand?
Yes.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. So Nick, I don't know how you want to do it. You know, I know we said we wasn't going to run it too long. You want to start bringing people up for questions, or what you want to do?
I know that I did bring Dr. Short up, so I wanted him to have a chance to speak with Vicky if he wanted to. So let's just let him cook for a second.
Peace, Dr. Short. How you doing, brother?
I'm blessed. I'm in Denver Airport. I just arrived, but just in time to hear Sister Vicky. Wazi to you, great woman.
Oh my good! Oh, I bow to you, King.
Yes,
so good to hear your voice.
So it is blessed to be in your presence, and thank you. Bill Cosby is my blood family, and it is a fact that it's Iraqi Jews, same ones that they tried to exterminate in the 1930s, are after Bill Cosby in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. We have an existential problem here. We didn't write the portion of Revelations that talks about a synagogue of Satan, but we still have to deal with it. And those persons in the synagogue of Satan know who they are and they know what they're up to. That phenomenal stand that Kyrie Irving has taken, and even one of my best buddies, Raymond's son, Kanye. I mean, even Kanye can be right sometimes. We've got an issue, and I'm speaking as a person that's Hebrew and Khazarian mix. And they have, like everybody else, partook and what's bad that's been done to us. It's not all, but it's many. And I'm not saying I hate anybody. So I can tell you my genealogy, a Jewish man bought a black woman, probably raped her. And on the other side of the family, a Jewish woman bought a black man and freed him. When it comes down to them, they're 50-50. And that 50 that don't like us is no joke. The 50 that do have shown some decency, but it's like good white people vis-a-vis bad white people. There are lots of good white people, but what has it gotten us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a spiritual war. Our awakening threatens them. So who has the liquor stores in our neighborhoods? Who's pushing porn? Who's pushing the LGBTQ and the pedophilia agenda? Who manufactures the porn? Who's degraded the music? Who are often the slumlords?
Facts.
Who controls the racist wing of the Republican Party and the racist wing of the Democratic Party and the racist Green Party? Who controls the Communist Party? Who controls feminism? Okay, when you start, who has all the conglomerated media in its hands? Who has Hollywood? Who has the print media? This is not my opinion. What would they tell you if you asked them? And if one of the main attacks on us is the systematic collective defamation of us as a people, and you've got the media, it means that you have to be part of what's doing this. And this ain't new. Long before there was rap music, there was coon songs. Who dominated the coon song industry? Who dominated blackface? Please look it up. Don't believe me. Who's pushing or organ harvesting most heavily? And we could start looking at this, and your mind's going to be blown. Your mind's going to be blown. Who dominates South Africa? Who? Who dominates the city of London and Britain, the banking and financial center of the Western world? I'm just asking, ask yourself questions. Ask yourselves questions. Where is this community strongest in the United States? Why was it strong in Charleston, the largest slave importing place in the country? And why was it strong in the city of New York? And why was the key financier of the American Revolution Haym Salomon? That's not an Anglo name. Who was vice president of the Confederacy? Who bankrolled the Confederacy? Who created the subprime lending process that ensnared and took trillions of dollars out of our hands?
I bear witness.
Just ask. Don't. You know what you do? Say F Dr. Short. He's just a nasty, vicious, hateful person. But I beg you, please look. Please look. Please look. Who attacks organized religion the most? Who says that you can't sing a religious song or have a choir or pray? Who? Who's pushing transgenderism? Who's pushing transhumanism? Who considers everybody subhuman to them? Before Hitler. And what was Hitler really? I'm just saying. And I want to say to you, unfortunately, Kanye, Kyrie, and even, I want to say this to you, sister, Bill Cosby's publicist could have done more to help Bill. I had a conversation with Bill, and I wasn't allowed to have another one. I told, his name will come to me. You know who I'm talking about. I'm forgetting his name. I have a witness that I explained what would happen in April 2018 to Cosby if he didn't listen, including a nude feminist attacking him on the way to the court. This conversation took place in October of 2017. Didn't a woman with her breast exposed attack Bill Cosby? Mr. Wyatt, I don't know who he's working for, but I'm not convinced that he's doing everything he can for Mr. Cosby. He's all into Greeks. He reached out to Black Lives Matter. This is what he told me. Why would Black Lives Matter help Bill Cosby push his family shows? Even if he's a hoe, and many of the men in my family are hoes and pimps. I thank God I'm not one. Bill Cosby won't be the last person in our bloodline, unfortunately. But so there's betrayal from within and from without. I was told and introduced to Bill Cosby's publicist by a Jewish woman named Michelle. Michelle told me Jews are trying to destroy Bill Cosby, and there's been a fight between good Jews who don't hate black people and the Jews who hate and are jealous of black people. And that has existed. If you look into the history of American Jewry, you will find William Kunstler's, you will find Bill Mandel, you will find people who are Jewish, who are Khazarian Jews, who understand their oppression and instead of hating black folks, respect them. Always been them, but there's also the other side. And unfortunately, like the bad white folk, that's what the most of what we get. That's the same thing for every other group of people, including every group of people that want to be white. Do this, everyone. We only have people like you, Sister Vicky, and Sister Nikki, and all. We only have each other and the Most High. Everything else will fail us. Who accused Farrakhan of saying Judaism was a gutter religion? Who accused him? I mean, do you know, I want to say this to you. I've been put on the same list since for 10 years I've been an anti-Semite, says the Anti-Defamation League. What did I say? I said the judiciary in Florida is corrupt, and Mr. Foxman made me an anti-Semite. I didn't even say anything about any specific group of people. I talked about a profession.
Black people don't have to say much. We don't have to say much for it to be added on there. We just have to be black and not agree with them.
Exactly.
Right. And their goal is juxtaposed with ours. If you are the Hebrews, the true house of Israel, and they're the pretender, it's a zero-sum game. Who discriminates against Falasha and other Jews going to Israel? Who discriminates? Who throws away blood? Who puts them on the front line to fight the other people that they don't get along with? Who denies their connection? Who? Is it us? Okay, at Crown Heights, did we run over somebody? Did we? If there's a disproportionate number of our judges and lawyers who are in a specific group and our people are overly incarcerated, excuse me, could we at least say that they have a hand in this too? I'm not saying all, but what's George Zimmerman? Is he just Latino? Can't Latinos have a complex heritage? What kind of name is Zimmerman? By the way, the mass shooting in Denver, what kind of name is Aldrich? Look it up. Just look. Just look. Just from here on out, I beg you, every time you see a crime and they don't go into detail, look up the surname origin. If you ever see a crime committed and there's compassion for the killer, a disproportionate amount of the times when they massage a mass murderer, I'm in Denver. Who did the shooting at Columbine High School? And
I wanted to segue into a different topic, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I'm just putting that out there for people to think, because folks are going to say, well, Vicky, they just have problems with people. No. Just reading and thinking leads you to certain conclusions, even for persons who may have some of that DNA. I mean, what can I say? I can't defend it. Go ahead. This is your show. I just want to say.
No, I just, because I know that she was only going to stay on for so long, so I just wanted to make sure that she had a chance to respond, and then I was going to ask her.
Well, mute me.
No,
I like listening to her. Okay.
I do too. Thank you so much, Doctor.
All right.
Dr. Short, you dropped so many nuggets, and we thank you so much for your insight and your wisdom. My encounters with Mr. Wyatt, Dr. Bill Cosby's published PR person, has, to my knowledge, again, my interactions with him has been nothing but, amazing and exposing all the individuals. That's why we started by talking about those that came after him. And he openly said so even before the Kanye brouhaha that gained an extraordinary amount of attention and momentum. He was specifically talking about that. And I've been taking that YouTube clip and putting them all over social media and been getting amazing responses for him
I'm
exposing those
so
things.
glad. Amen.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes,
Great.
sir.
Great.
So to everything else that you said, I can absolutely agree with what you're saying. It's so important because one of my folks commented the other day about how they've been invoking Bible recently, and of course, in particular part Torah for those of you that are Hebrew Israelites or the offshoot of that, Judaism in any form, interconnected there too, about how it's written that when you really look at it, it's really a war book. It's really a war manual. So folks that are acting like they don't want to really be engaged in this, I tweeted something the other day to Kyrie because Kyrie made a statement about how he's not here to do something. He's not here basically to stir up tensions with the races and, with the different races, racial discrimination, all this other kind of stuff, and blah, 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 blah. And I understand our brother. I stand with our brother Kyrie. Before this, I was doing broadcasts in support of other things that he did when they were putting the heat on him for standing up against this Coco and other things. So one of the things I said in response is, I don't know what the hell he was talking about. He's not here about stirring up racial tensions. But let me tell you something. For those of you who think that this battle has nothing to do with you, there's a such thing as a draft. You can be divinely drafted into something. In fact, the things in your very life, the difficulties that some of the things that you've gone through, the skill sets, the circumstances and situations you found yourself, how do you know that the divine wasn't exactly fashioning you for such a time as this? If somebody is shooting at you, beloved, whether you wanted to be in a battle or not, you in a war. If you are being attacked, if you are being targeted, you don't get to sit there and say you ain't in a war, baby. If they're unleashing the weapons on you, you're in it whether you want to be or not. And I'm not saying that the function of every soldier is the same. There are soldiers who heal that are doctors. There are soldiers who are responsible for cooking the food in the mess halls. Yes? There are soldiers that have different functions in the battle. There are those that are responsible for ensuring that the war chest is fat. Everybody has a particular function in this until we can realize Black self-determination and building this new reality in the way that we should until we get to that point. So you better get in where you fit in. You can figure out, we have to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves, as we say. We got to be wise in this war. We don't say it all, tell it all, and reckless and do it any kind of way. I'm not saying that. You don't see me necessarily using the strategy that Ye is using, but I'm just saying different soldiers do different things. And so I want us to keep that in mind, number one. And I want to say this even about concerning people within the ranks and those outside of the ranks. There's a separation that must happen, that must come within and without. And I'm going to use this principle. If you watch me when I was with Dr. Boyce and Fly Living Queen and all those other networks I was connected to, and those that are following my new channel at VickyDillard.tv now, I always use this parable of the wheat and the tares. And the wheat and the tares, T-A-R-E-S, is a weed that looks like wheat. Wheat, and in the story, the wheat and tares. Tares are a weed that looks like wheat. And the story of one of the stories of the wheat and the tares is that this landowner, this businessman, he sent out his workers to sow seed. And he knew what seed they sowed, which was for wheat. And as it began to grow up just a little bit, they noticed that there were weeds, which are known as tares or chaff, C-H-A-F-F, these are old English words, that started to grow up with the wheat. So when his workers, the landowner's workers, came to him and said, Master, look, there are weeds that are growing up amongst the wheat. He immediately said, y'all listen, an enemy has done this. He said, an enemy has done this. They said, okay, let us go out and pull up the weeds. Let's pull up the tares. He said, no. He said, don't pull them up yet. Let the wheat and the tares grow up together because they may damage the wheat. Let them grow up together. And then when full harvest comes, separate them. And the tares or the chaff or the weeds that look like wheat, we're going to set it on fire. There is a certain function that those within the ranks, they're benefiting us to a degree right now, you see. And there is a more prominent separation that must take place. And we're seeing some different things happen. So I'm not too worried because I understand this. I have been dealing with physical threats, death threats, mocking my illness, putting out slander, misinformation for years. And then a more recent, over the past several months, nonstop salvo amongst numerous voices, just nonstop all at the same time, you see, did what they did that appeared to be from Vicki's ranks, not knowing what I was doing behind the scenes, you see, keeping my mouth shut so as not to cause public dissension, trying to handle stuff behind the scenes so that this wouldn't become public. Recognizing that there is a problem within the camp, you see. But it having to come the way that it did, and it's all good now. And to be sure, I won't be exempt from further slander in the future. But I would tell those of you that are listening, those of you that are here, be careful. Now, I know people don't like to include me sometimes in different groups, and that's cool. I never force myself into spaces and places that I'm not wanted. I only like to go where I'm celebrated and not where I'm tolerated. It can never be okay. It can never be acceptable for us to give a foothold for such individuals again. It can never be. Because this is how stuff becomes contagious. And then you begin to participate, you see, in the undoing and the very thing and the very individuals that Spirit brought to help you and to help the movement and to help our people. You understand? That's very important. I'm going to leave that at that.
Okay. And so I don't know if you have any more time left. I was just going to ask if you wanted to take maybe 2 or 3 questions from some of the listeners.
I'll take a couple of questions.
Say what?
I'll take a couple of questions.
Okay, I want to ask her something real quick.
Okay.
Do you care to discuss the tweet about Charlamagne Tha God and the issue with that?
So good that you brought that up. I would say this. My reflex, my muscle memory, my automatic response is always defend Black people. It's abnormal for me. And it takes something extra out of me if you see me going in on a Black looking person. So I need y'all to understand that. My nature is just defend us, support us, love us, stand with us. So if Vicki is going in on somebody, baby, it's something to it. Let's be clear. It's something to it. Charlamagne, and that was a couple years ago, he shouted me out when one of his interviews he did with Dr. Umar Johnson when he said, "Talk Black to me," as Vicki Dillard says, and all that. Thank you. Appreciate it. But that ain't going to obscure my vision. When he does something that is significant and important and what I deem to be right, I'll say so, you see. But when I see that you do something, that's poisonous and that's very dangerous, I'm going to say something too. Charlemagne came out and said that Ye is a Nazi. Okay? Charlemagne, before Ye went on Drink Champs, contacted Noriega and them, Nore and Drink Champs and them, told them don't bring him on. And some more stuff, yes? But he brought on candidate at the time, Joe Biden. Thought it was an honor and a big deal, you see, to bring on this anti-Black man who was the architect of some of the most recent anti-Black legislation ever. And he was held and patted on the back for that, you understand. Then this video from about 9 years ago at the time came out of him sitting his funny looking self on Vlad's platform. And Vlad doing what he does best, prompts him, Vlad himself come from a Jewish background, prompts him into this conversation that Charlemagne said he was uncomfortable with and started sweating, literally pulled out his handkerchief, his napkin, to dab the sweat off of his face, saying how uncomfortable he was just talking about these predatory forces, we're going to just call them, that Ye has been calling out. Charlemagne, in an even more succinct way, said some can argue what they consider to be quote unquote much worse than what Ye said, which is not about worse. He was talking about who controls what and who has power, yes? And then he went further to talk about, he made it sound like it's even more official, to be honest, than the way Ye said it. But this is who came out and called Ye a Nazi. And very few called Charlemagne out. What the hell is going on? What's really going on? Then a white woman from the Hill, and I did a broadcast on that, before my tweet got over 1 million views, 1.1 million views. First tweet ever that I know of that did that much. They used my tweet in their broadcast. That thing went viral over the weekend by that Monday. Before Charlemagne could even come out and even speak on this video that was released. Other folks who put the video out beforehand. But I'm talking about mine that went viral and that particular one that was used. The Hill, a whole white woman, a whole Becky, proceeded to defend Charlemagne and show what she considered to be the subtle distinctions between what he said about them folks and what Ye said. When you got Becky defending you before you even speak to this, what the hell is going on? And he was protected by Black people and white folks. The activists out there, the conscious community out there, who ain't said nothing, ain't got no smoke, and the smoke that they got for him is not tantamount to the smoke that they have for Ye. And we're talking about allegedly, some sexual impropriety that went on that appeared to be admitted from him. He's also one of the ones, if I hadn't mistaken, that had smoke for the Bill Cosbys and other such Black men. And not to mention the anti-Black music and musicians that they held every damn day on the Breakfast Club. But he's worse than Ye. While he let Joe Biden dog walk him and Kamala Harris dog walk him when she interviewed with him. Y'all make this make sense.
Yeah, that was cowardice right there.
Let's make that make sense. So we're sitting here acting like somehow what Ye did by wearing a MAGA hat and talking about white lives matter is worse than the anti-black stuff and the white supremacist Democratic wing that Charlemagne pushes on a very regular basis, and the anti-black music and musicians that he's known for from the Black Breakfast Club. Y'all better come on. Can't nobody reconcile this. That's my issue. And they use this black man to, behind the scenes, prevent another large platform from bringing him on. Yeah, that bothers me. A few months ago, I heard from a very large black platform talking about a new project they had, a new pilot show they had. They told me what they wanted me to debate, what they wanted me to discuss. The producer was already familiar with my work. She know how I breathe it. And then when the sign-off came, that was changed. A few months later, I was replaced. And of course, that's not the first time. I'm just talking about in recent history. They know me. They know what Vicky will likely do. I'm not ignorant or ghetto or reckless. I know war and I understand, family. Sometimes we appear to play the game for a moment, but this ain't playing the game. We know the difference. So yes, I feel that something is very wrong when we're not calling out Charlemagne, for calling him a Nazi, and for saying exactly what Ye said, but he said it, baby, even better. He said it even better, and that he's being protected by white folks who seem to understand what he's saying, and that he's being protected from black-looking people, and that he's also done a whole bunch of other anti-black stuff with the platform that he's had. Y'all got to make this make sense. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Talk black to me. You said a word. I agree with everything you said. That's why I don't trust celebrities, because they're not for black empowerment. They're for what they can get for themselves. So
now I'm gonna say something controversial right now, real quick. I understand some of our now ancestors and elders that specifically called out white people for intentionally going to some of our black celebrities, sports persons, and other high-profile people. But let me say this. The issue is not overwhelming black celebrities, family. It really isn't. Those who are not so-called black celebrities, who are supposed to be your reporters and your academics, where's Dr. Cornel West on these folks? Since Ye said it wrong, okay? Ye can't say it right. He's not being professorial, right? He's not being academic with it, yes? So you subject verb agreement ninjas, where you at? Say it better than he could say it, okay? Where is Dr. Michael Eric Dyson on this specifically? The so-called Roland Martin, which we know he's a joke, but he's a joke as a reporter, right? He's a joke as bragging about his education and his whole fraternity and him being a part of the Boule and all of these groups of people. His guests he brings on are not necessarily celebrities and ball players. And when you have somebody, like a Ye, that's saying some real stuff, and we can't get with him on the real stuff, or if we don't support him, which we get, I totally understand, at least let's give the folks he called out that same energy. You feel me? That's what I'm saying. What I don't know, because I don't know. It's just, I don't know about that now. The war done changed. And it's not just the people, the visible, the high profile and all. It's us down here on these parts. The hell I've been dealing with ain't them the high levels right now. Only. You know, I've been calling out a few. Y'all know I deal with them too. But I'm saying I've been getting the hell from the regular smegulars. You understand? The people that ought to know better and stuff. Come on now. This is a part of what I've been dealing with. It's not just the little loudmouth YouTubers and other folks that got a problem and other this and the third. It's some of my so-called supporters that they got tripped up in this. You understand? A lot of them. Done lost their minds. And so as the war changes, I personally don't feel like we're at a time in this battle that we can afford to throw away certain types of soldiers. We gotta. This how I'm gonna say it. It's a case by case situation for me. How about that? I ain't thinking you ain't gonna hear me say too much. And shout out to our brother Malcolm X on that when he told it out. We understand that was the major play. We understand that the powers that be like to go to folks that they control who are famous and all. They ain't got an influence over Black society and stuff. But they're seeing more and more. A lot of that ain't working. You see. And I'm saying right now, the way the war changed. Shout out to our elders. There was a principle, there's a point to exactly what they're saying. When I'm dealing with a high profile somebody like a Charlamagne, I call them out. But baby, I'm gonna call out the regular smegglers too. And I'm gonna say, because I see behind the scenes soldiers. I know what some of them are doing behind the scenes that some of you all may not know about. You understand? There's certain ones that you are hearing from that listen to your sister with the curly braids. I'm gonna say that. And some of them are giving me support more than just listening to my broadcast. So for me, it's going to be case by case.
It's a very difficult place to be in. It's because every time you elevate a little bit, you deal with a whole new level of hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to speak like it's Black on Black crime, but it's other Black people hating on Black people and trying to destroy other Black people. And they don't use that same energy to go after white supremacy.
Facts.
Yeah. So I just find it amazing at how much hate is in these Twitter streets. With me, it was over a doggone blue wrench. Since October 6th, I've got people just hating on me just over a blue wrench from Tariq. So, and I hate to make this into myself, but I'm just letting you know that I empathize with you because I know how that feels. And I don't know how it feels on your level because your level is way higher than mine. But I admire you for being able to deal with all of that hate that you have to deal with, because a lot of times people are too afraid to support you publicly when everybody agrees that they're going to all hate you at one time.
Wait. You just said, now we need another bomb. I need somebody to put some bombs, something in the chat right there. You just said something right there. You and I haven't even talked personally before, but you just said something right there. Can you repeat that last two sentences you just said?
It's like just a new level of hate when everybody agrees that they're going to hate on you at the same time and you're dealing with it by yourself. And they all agree that they're going to all together hate you just to hate you.
Facts.
Super facts. And so yeah, I just want to say thank you, Nikki, for putting this together, hosting the space and everything, and allowing me to be a part of it. And thank you, Miss Vicky Dillard, for agreeing to come on and allow us to chop it up with you and allow the family to get a chance to get a peek inside that beautiful mind of yours. So thank you all, and I appreciate it.
The privilege is all mine. And I want to thank you all again and to continue in your very, very good work, disseminating the messages. You can never underestimate those who have voices like yours. You can never underestimate those that are cataloging important commentary, these seeds, keepers of the seeds. You can never underestimate when you comment and when you retweet, when you repost, when you share. These are not things to be taken lightly. You increase the Black collective voice when you do that. This is powerful. The powers that shouldn't be, family, listen to me very clearly. Listen to me very clearly. If we take the Sunday school version of David, which it was more to the war than what we're told. That's why I keep saying the Sunday school version, because there's more depth to some of these things that we've been taught. But let's just go with what we were taught for the average person that maybe know the story of David and them saying that he defeated Goliath with 3 stones. Never underestimate what you have in your hands. Never underestimate what you have in your hands. You see our talking points are being mimicked, and they're trying to dilute the power of them. You understand? You see the momentum that we have, and this is not because of one person. This is because of the Black grassroots that's giving momentum to this thing. So you all keep doing what you're doing. Those of you that support financially, those of you that support with comments, those of you, as I mentioned before, that like, share, thumbs up, tweet, whatever it is, whatever social media platform supporting these kinds of things, do that and continue to do so because it matters. This is happening because we finally decided to have an unwavering belief and respect for our own voices and our own power. And they, of course, consider that to be very dangerous because, as some of the reports have come out, a lot of folks are not even listening or trusting mainstream media's commentary now. They have a greater reliance on social media, which is why we know, especially during the cocoa pandemic, they took to attack our family. For example, our brother Rizza, when they considered him to be a part of the disinformation dozen, and the White House was pushing that. So that should tell you everything that you need to know there. So pay attention to those things. We're more powerful than you know, and we're never outnumbered. When we get on code, when we're divinely aligned with what matters, you understand. The divine is able to weaponize any and everything around us. So anyway, so thank you. And I certainly appreciate it. And I look forward to doing this again in due course.
Okay, well, we're very sorry that we weren't able to get to some of the hands, but we do plan on doing this again. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Nikki, Sister Nikki, I can take two more.
You can take two more. Okay, I'm going to
Yes.
take Arenza and Sharice then. Let me bring them up. Oop. I pressed the wrong button for Arenza. Just a minute. Okay, Arenza, you can unmute yourself. Arenza?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I want to start out. Is she still here or is she disconnected?
She's right here.
Okay, I want to start out by introducing myself. My name is Arenza Thigpen Jr. I'm from Tuskegee, Alabama. My mother and my grandmother historically were preeminent figures of their time, and they spoke with me constantly since I was maybe 6 years old about my place in Black society. There are a lot of things in today's world that I do agree with, and then there are a lot of things that I don't. But the one thing that I can assure all of you is that we're at the center of it. I want everybody to understand something, that we have to be as fundamentally and technically aware of our surroundings, always be in a position to develop something from nothing. It appears that every time we do something, the white community wants to copy it and the buffer class wants to emulate it, but we have to be on top of our game. Now, out of all the different Black diasporas around the world,
ours is the most important. And the reason why ours is the most important is because we live in a democracy. Okay, can you guys hear me?
I apologize. Wait, just a minute. I apologize to everyone listening. Twitter has been very, I don't know any other word to use but janky.
Okay, can you
in
hear
the
me?
past week or so. Yeah, I can hear you. It's going in and out. So I'm just asking everybody to be a little bit just patient until we end the space because, the sound isn't the best quality. But go ahead.
Okay. To start out, and I apologize for the intermittent outages, and I tried to be really good about it with my headset because I have a Bluetooth as well, and it didn't help. We have to be fundamentally and technically aware of our surroundings, and we have to always be in a position to develop things that eventually people will adopt as the mainstream of whatever that time is.
George Washington Carver did Peanut, Eli Whitney did Cotton Gin, so on and so forth. But if we have the ability to change laws in favor of...
We can't hear you.
Okay. if we have the ability to change laws within the community, that is when you're going to start seeing some progress. Let me give you an example of what I mean, and then I can answer any questions that you guys may have going forward.
Well, we only have,
Okay.
with all due respect to everyone here, we only have so much time. So if you can sum it up the best you can,
Okay.
so that Vicky can.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
So here's what I want to tell you guys in summary. Since you know that blacks in America, especially the American descendants of slaves, are connected with the Constitution of the United States, that it gave us a little bit more privileges than other places around the world, we are in the best position to set the example for the rest of the world by creating things fundamentally and technically to our specifications on moving forward. And I'm involved with what they call ballot initiatives and referendums, which means I do the petitions, people sign them, people get to vote on them, and it becomes law. And it had absolutely nothing to do with legislators. If you live in one of the states that allows this process to happen, let that be your starting point. Get people out to vote. Show them the value of what it means to have voting rights in the United States and why so many people died for it. And that's the primary message that I'm trying to send today, is that you're not without tools. You have the ability to make a change. You just got to know how. And I'm giving you guys the fundamental technique on how you can change things on a local and state level that will end up being what the rest of the country does. Marijuana was legalized in this manner. Minimum wage was increased with this manner. Politicians have been kicked out of the office in this manner. You can make a difference. And I'm not taking anything, by the way, miss, I'm not taking anything away from the B1 movement. I'm a diehard B1 supporter. It's just that you have to do more. You have to do more, because if you don't, it gives your opposition a chance to trample you. And that's all I had to say.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So, thank you so much. I'm a girl from Mississippi, and my family has a history. I got a couple of family members that are was Tuskegee students. The Voting Rights Act was signed into law August 1965. And they said that's when Black folks started to experience some level of alleged American freedom. And that's been 57 years ago. Right after that happened, they immediately started to undermine important parts of it. In our day, time, the U.S. Supreme Court gutted certain enforcement parts of that Voting Rights Act, and there is legislation before now. There's a case before them now where folks are fearing that so-called Black voting rights will be severely or further undermined. Beloved, voting, exactly what I said earlier, is not the only form of power. And our ancestors did not die. Repeat after me, class. Our ancestors did not die for the right to vote.
Did not die for the right to vote.
Our ancestors did not, damn it, die for the right to vote.
Our ancestors did not, damn it, die for the right to vote.
It is a lie and a very diabolical talking point to say that. Do not desecrate Black sacred blood or their intelligence with such foolish statements. Our people were trying to get the advantage from any circumstance or situation that would give them a greater experience of Black empowerment, if even it included voting. But that wasn't the reason they were doing that. When they were opening up multiple Black towns, all over the United States? Were they voting for that? No. They were thriving in these areas until white supremacist terrorists came and dropped bombs and guns and set it on fire. Stop with that. We have been consistently voting in large numbers, and we've done it with the hope and the belief that this would be a substantial way to realize greater Black progress. It has not happened yet. So we've decided that we're going to take this notion of the vote that we see gives them power to give the Ukrainians money and resources, the Afghans money and resources, political resources, legal resources and money, LGBTQ, legal and illegal immigrants benefits. We see our vote works for them. Get them substantive movement and legislation and resources and tangibles for them. You guys say to us, well, just keep voting. And there are some obvious benefits of engaging locally because local government is a bit different. That's a strategy that I have not said not to do. You need to be wise with that too. But yes, I believe there are some disproportionate advantages to local voting. That's different. In some respects, when we talk about, as Roland would say, well, what Republican you know wants Black folks to have reparations? What Republican can you find that will vote for reparations? Okay, family, before this latest election, who's in the White House? Is it a Democrat White House? Is it a Democrat House of Representatives? Was it a Democrat Senate? If you are running the White House, you're the President of the United States, the one that signs off on the bill to make it law. If you have a Democrat majority in the House of Representatives, the lower house of Congress, and you have a Democrat majority, in most cases using Kamala Harris's vote in the Senate, what's the problem? It's not about whether or not there is a Republican who's willing. We're proving that the Democrats are unwilling. Because if you were who you say you were to Black folk, you should have been able to get this passed. We don't even need to talk about whether or not the Republicans, whom most Black folks don't give power to, that's why the pressure is disproportionate for them, because we give power to the Democrats. So we can't sit up here and say that. And it is asinine and it's disrespectful to our intelligence to sit here and act like voting is the ultimate answer. Everything I said for the past hour is what the answer is. You're welcome. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Thank you. Thank you for that, especially, the point that you made about voting. Like, I was like this close to muting the brother's mic, no disrespect, but when I realized he didn't have a question for you, I almost booted him off the stage. But I'm glad I let him finish, you know what I mean, so that he could say what he had to say to make sure that you bring that point home about how disrespectful that talking point is. So I definitely appreciate that. And so we have Sharice on the stage. Sharice, hopefully you have a question for our sister. What you got? Unmute your mic.
Peace and blessings. I just wanted to give my flowers to my sister, to my queen, to my empress. I am an avid follower of Queen Empress Vicki Dillard, and I wanted to encourage those listening to consider the mastermind classes that she teaches, because as we deal with this draft that we have been drafted into this war, it can eat away at your soul. And learning from her how to maneuver, she does not just teach spirituality. She teaches strategy, how to maneuver through this world in a way that here I am going on 53 years old in December, and I'm still beautiful. And I have to I have to give it to my queen. I mean, she's 10 or so years younger than me. But
Oh,
she's
I'm
an
just
ancient.
I'm loving your energy and your support for her. It's so beautiful. I'm feeling it through the phone. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you
so
so much
welcome,
for the way you
queen.
loving on Vicky. I appreciate that.
I thank you for that. But it's her love to me that I'm giving back. But I just want to say that she really has a heart for this work that has been given to her before she came to this planet. She really is an ancient soul. I know because I'm one. And I know that it's not always easy for some to accept her, because when you are a prophetess, everybody can't handle the truth you bring it. But I'm just saying, consider that her role here is necessary. And there's no way we getting where we need to go until we understand that. And I just wanted to say that and give her flowers and just let the world know that this queen is good to go. We need to ride with her.
Miss Cherie, before you leave off, you and I, your support for me is not planned.
Oh wow.
And it's so organic with how you move and how you support me. And because you're not a fake and you wouldn't
Yes.
get behind no mess, you understand? You wouldn't be behind a fraud. And
Yes.
you have an ability to see the different facets of me and my strangeness. And whether you agree 100% or not, you understand the overarching assignment, the way you move with me. I bow to you, dear sister,
Thank you, Queen.
and how you roll for me when others did not, how you
Yes.
publicly, unprompted by me.
Yes.
No behind the scenes talking, you see.
Yes.
You just did what you did on your
Yes.
own. For that, may the divine return that gift back to you and your family 1,000-fold. And I publicly thank you and others like you.
I
I can
receive
never
that, Queen.
underestimate your respect for me and how you roll for me and ride for me, even when some of the other ones, of course, I've got supporters all over the place that's not as active as social media folks. So sometimes we get that mixed up. And then when I find myself traveling, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. Like, who they talking to? And you realize that the people on the streets are a bit different than people that sometimes move in other spaces. But I
Yes.
want to honor you, my dear sister, and folk like you are truly,
Yes.
truly, truly the wind beneath my wings, and I will always be committed to doing my magic for you and your family.
Thank you, Queen. I so honor you. And I'll say this to you, Nikki the guy. I know what my queen is speaking on, and I'm gonna say this. I'm a seer. I've always been a seer. I talked to myself out of a lot of things when I was younger. And to this day, I will pause and just watch. But everything I see comes to pass. Okay. And so I knew what my queen was going to have to go through. I knew who and what was going to happen. But God allows it so we can learn. And that's all it is. And it is what it is.
Ashe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your energy on this stage. I just followed you, sweetie. Thank you.
Queen.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. This is beautiful. Thank you so much.
We're gonna have to do this again soon. We really are.
Yes.
I had a good time today. I see you out there, Marcel. Thank you, everyone who came to the space to support Vicky. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's here. Thank you so much, Vicky, and that's about it. New Black Media Archive, Sincere Love the God. Would you like to say anything else?
Just want to say peace to everybody, peace to the family. Appreciate everybody tapping in with us today. Vicky, let everybody know, where they could catch you at, all the different networks that you're on, your social media, anything that you got coming up that you want to plug, things of that nature.
Yeah,
Real
all of her social media is up in a jumbotron. Can you guys follow everything? I put all of her stuff in one tweet. So follow all of that stuff and shop at her store too. She's got some merch there too.
Thank you for that, Nikki. You're so thorough. I didn't realize you did all that. You really are. Thank you so much for that. That's beautiful. So, as she mentioned, I'm even learning these phrases that you're talking about. You said jumbotron. I'm like, okay, what's she talking about? Oh, I see it right there. Highlighted. I got to get used to the language here. But yes, so here on Twitter at Dillard Vicky, I started my live weekly channel at VickyDillard.tv or Vicky Dillard TV on YouTube. You can either way, you can see me live. I go live at least once or twice a week now. Of course, I was doing 5 days a week for 4 years, but because of my health, I've been traveling actually out of town for holistic treatments that I get. So I have to put my health first, and that's the reason my schedule has not been what it used to be. And so I'm making some progress, and until I get to where I need to be health wise, the content there will pretty much stay as it is. And thank you all so much for your understanding of that and for sharing that. So again, that's VickyDillard.tv. I'm hearing from people all over the place that still can't find me, or when they put my name in the search engine, my name keeps popping up under the other platforms that I was a part of. But that's okay. It may take a little time for folks to know where I am at VickyDillard.tv. I'm on Instagram at VickyXDillard. That's VICKIX Dillard. And I got a couple of Facebook pages at Vicky Dillard. And a few months ago, started a TikTok rather, at I Am Vicky Dillard. So that's where we are for now. Oh, I also give content on a regular basis for Brother Phil Scott, one of his channels at African Diaspora News Channel. So you can find your sister with the curly braids there as well. And I got some other yummy things coming up in the near future, which I'm so excited about. So stay tuned for that. The biggest thing is, if you are on my email list at VickyPlanet.com, we're going to be sending out all of this stuff in my upcoming projects there. So the main thing is get on my email list. If nothing else, get on my email list, because we can always use the email list to let you know about all these other things. And that is VickyPlanet.com, VickyPlanet.com, VickyPlanet.com. Join the email list. And then in due course, you'll be hearing from my team, letting you know about upcoming projects and things that's going to be released, some of the things by winter. So I look forward to connecting you all there. And again, thank you so very much for the privilege of speaking to you on this Twitter space. Everybody involved, New Black Media, Sincere the God, my sister Nikki the God, thank you. And of course, the family. Thank you so much.
And with that, I will wish the whole room a farewell. Thank you so much. And I'm going to close the space now. Have a great day. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.